Hey everyone, welcome to the Seeds of Success podcast, hosted by Dottie San Martin and myself, Orly Rivera. This show is your weekly dose of knowledge, insights, and actionable tips to transform centers into striking successes. Whether you're a seasoned industry professional or just stepping onto the lanes, we've got you covered. So Dottie, today what we were thinking of talking about was, giving customers, we're always talking about bringing customers back. How can you bring them back? And today what we're going to cover is, maybe giving them a little something extra, which doesn't necessarily always mean something free or something physical, correct?
That's right. Right. Give them that little, that little wow. It's like, oh, wow, I didn't expect that. That was really cool. Right.
Yeah.
When that happens, right?
Yeah, no. And one that stands out to me, and I think I've brought it up on a past show, was just something as simple as remembering somebody's name. That goes a long way. There's been times where I've gone somewhere and they're like, see you later, Orly. And it kind of just throws me off guard. Like I was like, do I know them from somewhere else? Or I just walked in here for the first time. That makes a huge impact. So I know that's a very important one.
Yeah. People do love to hear their names. They love to see their picture and they love to hear their names, right? So I have to share with you, we have a little local barbecue restaurant here in San Antonio, and they really pride themselves in that personal touch. So when you go up to place your order, they ask for your name and they remember that. And it is an expectation of the restaurant that when a customer leaves their door, when they walk out the door, that somebody behind the counter says, "Thank you, Orly. We look forward to seeing you next time," or "We appreciate your business," or something, but they address you by name as you exit the center. That leaves that customer with a really, really good feeling.
Yeah, no, I agree. And we talked about it doesn't necessarily have to be something physical, but, because, you don't always want to give away things that are worth like a lot of value. You know what I mean? But even something as simple as, if you are going to do that, something as simple as an extra few minutes on the lanes, or which in return keeps them there longer. They might get another drink. They might give their kids some more money to spend in the arcade, and that goes a long way. Just like where if somebody's like, I've had it in the past where they're, something was wrong on their lane. And I was like, I gave you guys an extra 30 minutes to enjoy, and that goes, they remember that. They're very thankful of it. They let someone else know. And, and word of mouth, as we all know, is very important. So just simple little gestures like that go a long way. Something as simple as also, when you start getting these usuals that come in and they order the same meal a lot. I used to have seniors that would come in and eat, and they tend to order the same thing every single time. So if they're asking for, can I get extra ketchup? Something as simple as that, remembering, here's some extra ketchup. Or they go to ask and I go, oh, I actually put some on there. I remember you asked last time. That goes a long way. You may not think, but it does go a long way.
Yeah, you're right. And, I have to go back to us talking about people loving to hear their names. We actually have a big cheat here in this industry, in the bowling industry, because when people come in, they put their name on the monitor. So there's no excuse, folks, for not being able to call your customers by name. Even down to the little ones, right? The kiddos. Don't forget, they're customers too, right?
Yeah.
But, when you're talking about that says so much, to just do something that they're not expecting. We have again, I go back, our listeners are going to think all I do is eat. But anyway, we frequented a little barbecue place the other day. Yes, we are from Texas, so we like barbecue. So yes, hence another barbecue restaurant. But we went into, it was a new little restaurant, and they had the most unique pickles ever. And so we commented about how good the pickles were. And when they gave us our order, they said, oh, and by the way, there's an extra little container of pickles in there for you. Wow. I was like, that was so cool, right? They didn't have to do that.
Yeah.
So, and as you said, Orly, it does not have to be anything that costs you money. So it can be something as simple as, as I mentioned to you in a previous conversation that we were having, the center that I was at, we prided ourselves in that. We wanted to do something special because we really, really valued the customer. And on rainy days, if we saw a customer without an umbrella, we would, if we saw it, we would help them to their car with an umbrella, right? Because we didn't want them to get wet. And so it's the little things like that people are going to remember. They didn't have to do that. That's always what I say. Wow, they didn't have to do that.
Yeah.
That makes a big difference.
Yeah, I remember a story that stands out to me too is once we had a, there was a dad and daughter that would come bowling on Fridays, and they commented on my hat once, and we had hats that we would sell there, and that day, I just went down and I gave it to the little girl, and she was so excited. And the dad was like, the next week was like, she has not took this hat off. She loves it. And you got to think about it. And this wasn't the reason I did it, but it's kind of free advertisement too. Cause now you have this walking ad walking around town, but it was something as simple as that, he really was so serious when he was just saying, like, she has not took this off. She's been so excited about it. She's showing everyone. And it's just, that made someone's day, and again, that was a cost, but it was something that, goes a long way for just a simple little thing like that.
Yeah. And, like you said, it's kind of that little random act of kindness. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't have to be much. I used to love to go, most centers that have popcorn know it's a high profit item, right? It doesn't cost you anything to give away popcorn. And especially with the summertime coming on and the, families are in there, going and just taking them a bucket of popcorn and going, hey guys, we really appreciate you guys coming out tonight. It's nice to see families doing things together, whatever, however you want to frame whatever you're doing. But that goes a long ways. Somebody took the time to do something nice. And believe me, I mean, you and I talk about this all the time. There needs to be a lot more kindness going on in this world. Even going up, I used to love, and I didn't do it very often, but there were times that something just moved me to go up, as somebody was coming up to pay. And I just felt like I wanted them to have it on the house. And so it was, I would say, I hope you guys had a good time and we take an opportunity to talk. And you know what? Today is on me. We appreciate you coming in today. And it's not going to break the bank. I'm not advocating that you give away everything. I'm advocating acts of kindness, right?
Yeah.
And the reward that you can get in return for that. So,
yeah. Another one that stands out to me that I've seen happen in different restaurants I've gone to, or just different establishments in general, is when a manager or even like an owner will come up to you and like, you've never seen this person sometimes. And they're like, hey, how's it going? My name's such and such. I just want to introduce myself. I actually own the place here. I was just wondering, do you guys like the way everything goes here? Or, how was your meal today? And that's kind of cool because it throws you off guard and you're like, oh, wow, though, I met the owner today. He came up to me. Or yeah, something as simple as that. Or I've been to restaurants before where, I do know the owner, but he'll come up now and as he's passing the table, he'll ask, like, give my kids a high five or something. And just that's cool to get that interaction with them because, some people think of an owner or a manager just to be in this office all the time. But when they're actually out there on the floor introducing themselves, asking you how things are going, it shows that they really care that, to if something isn't going correctly, they want to fix it to make their establishment the best that it could be.
That's exactly right. And, we've said on previous episodes that it's all about relationships. And when people feel like they're a part of what's going on at your center, they start to feel like they're part of the, quote, family. I'm doing air quotes here for our listeners that can't see. That goes a long way. It's a feel-good place then, right? They come in and they feel like they're welcome. They feel like they belong. So I totally agree. If you are one of those managers that's locking yourself in your office and not getting out, not mingling with your people, those are the people that pay your paycheck. And to make them feel welcome and to recognize their kids, and like you said, to give their kids a high five, that goes a long way. It shows that you truly appreciate their business. And I guarantee you they'll remember that and they'll share that with somebody else. And, I think you shared with me not too long ago, Orly, that you went into a trading card shop, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Another kind of same situation where we were at this new, a card shop that we came across. We had to make a little drive because there's not too much in my small town, but we were excited to be there. We're looking through cards and just hearing this guy interact with his customers and telling kids, like kids that were trying to sell cards, he would give them the honest, he'd pull it up on eBay and show them this is about what it's selling for. I'm able to give you this, or I give you some store credit, or you hold on to it a little longer and this and that. He was just very honest with the kids. And then one of his staff members was swinging by and was like, hey guys. And we're like, hey, and he asked my son, here, do you want a pack of cards? And my son was like super excited about that, And again, that goes a long way. The first thing he did when when mom was done shopping and came back to grab us was like, Mom, the guy inside gave me a cool pack of cards, and I opened it there and then he was excited to show them what he got there. So yeah, little things like that go a long way. And it's something they'll remember probably forever. I know that seems kind of crazy, but I'm sure, and he's telling his kids someday, yeah, I used to go to the shop and they gave me a free pack of cards. Like, that goes a long way.
Yeah. And it's not just on the owner or the proprietor or the general manager's shoulders. This can actually be, an expectation. So empower your employees to do things, or set the expectation that when a customer comes in, you make eye contact with them, you smile, and you say, welcome to our center. Or, is there something I can do for you today? Or, it's good to have you here today. Or when they're leaving, if you want to set the expectation that they call them by name, or at the very least, smile and, thank them for coming in today. We look forward to seeing you next time. Those are easy things. They don't cost you any money.
Exactly.
And they make a huge, huge difference.
Yeah. Even with our outro here that you're going to do soon, the way you're so nice about it, it's going to get people to be like, I'm coming back to listen again. Right.
Well, we certainly hope so. So I do think that's my cue that you're cutting me off, Orly.
Not exactly. I was just saying the way you end it, like, it's been great talking to you guys again. We look forward to it. Like, something as simple as that, honestly, goes a long way when they listen, like, oh, that was a very cool show. And they seem so nice and they really wanted to talk to us. So I'm going to come back and listen again.
And you know what? I can guarantee you our listeners today are thinking, oh gosh, yeah, I could do this or I could do that. It's something as simple as, if you see that somebody needs a straw for their drink, you go get it. I mean, it's all these little things. And I guarantee you that if our listeners sat down for 5 minutes, they could think of 5 or 6 things that either they themselves could do, or they could set the expectations for their employees to do. And the benefits of that are priceless. You're going to get so much good word of mouth advertising out of it. So that's my challenge for our listeners today, is to figure out something that you can do that has your customers going, wow, that was really cool, and put it into action. Well, listeners, thank you so much for joining us today. Orly and I love what we do, and we love sharing these seeds to help you grow your business. So these practical tips and ideas and trends, they're just one more thing that you can do to help you get to that next level of success for your center. Remember to share this podcast with your entire team. Remember, the more seeds you plant, the bigger the crop. Until next time, keep growing your business, one happy customer at a time.